All right, folks, we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen on April 27th. Before we begin, we'd like to have an agenda, but jointly, the FinCom and Board of Selectmen would like to just take a brief moment of silence for wonderful lady, the unofficial mayor of Charlton, who recently passed, Kathy Hughes. So if you just take a moment with me to have a moment of silence. Thank you. So tonight, I think it looks like John Grondelsky's on from FinCom. What we're discussing, and then I'll defer to my colleagues on the Finance Committee, is what is now known as Article 21. This is the citizens petition to borrow and purchase what was known as Charlton Furniture, with the intention of eventually making it into a senior center. So, Mr. Kamasi, let me turn it over to your side first, because we discussed this pretty much in depth at one of our meetings, and I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity, so we will go after you. So I turn it over to you guys.
We have not discussed it in detail because this petition came up after our last. But we have had some discussions. How you doing, Jay? The first question that I have for, and Andrew, I'm going to ask this. So back on March 3rd, you gave us this memorandum outlining some costs associated with the senior center and what it would take. Okay, but this was all done as part of, if it was part of tax operating.
Right. So essentially, it was if you took the current FY22 budget, and you had to find the amount of money that would be required to levy a debt exclusion, assuming that you had no additional revenue from what was passed in this current year, that's essentially the cost out of the operating budget to fund both the anticipated operating costs and the debt service.
Right. So you came up with a number, for instance, on the 20-year debt of $395,000, right, is what it would cost us. Now, that number stays the same, whether it's debt exclusion or comes out of operating, right? It's the same.
Right. It's the same pot of money. Essentially, you have
it's
to fund that out of operating. The only exception to that would be if you did a debt exclusion vote, and that would be over and above your total levy.
Right, but that's over and above the revenue side,
right?
Okay, not the expense side. These numbers are pretty much staying the same.
Right.
Okay?
Hey, Andrew. When I talked to bond counsel the other day, I can't go out 20 years because we're not building a building. I think I can only go out 5.
So double that.
Actually, it's well, so no, because we have numbers for 20 and 10.
Right, so double the 10 number.
10-year number and doubling that. So just by way of example, on the 10-year plan, you would be looking at letting go 2 police officers, that becomes 4. 3 firefighters becomes 6. Everything is going to have to be doubled.
That's the you had the 20, right? Then you had the 10-year after that.
So now we're looking at 5.
So then it goes from $595,000 a year, $1.1 billion.
And I think the assumption was, and Andrew, correct me, was that the motion on the floor would be to borrow up to around $3 million for this.
This one was.
That says 4.
Yeah, that one says 4.
Right, that was the
took
earlier.
into account renovation costs.
That was when we had anticipated total costs of acquisition and renovation of being a total of $4 million between the two of them. That was before they came back and they said, $3 million. But the $3 million number that was thrown out there was also based off of, an estimate of them doing the work and skipping prevailing wage, which we, then got further clarification that we cannot do anything to skirt prevailing wage.
So Andrew, knowing where we are today, as far as tax increase, so knowing where we are today, at a 5-year, we were at approximately 4 reduction in 14 employees on 10. Would we say if there's still a 5-year that 14 becomes 20 to 25?
Could be depending on the positions that are coming.
And Hank, through you, those watching at home as well as the Finance Committee, I think that's one of the questions the Board of Selectmen have as well, is that I mean this nicely, it's somewhat vaporware at the moment, that we don't know what the numbers are. All we've been told is that more than likely that the request at town meeting would be up to $3 million. But the final number, what it would really cost, via renovations, cost of building, and anything else. Unless someone else can correct me, we don't have a good number for us, nor for you, nor for the townsfolk.
And the $3 million covers just the purchase.
Well,
What is the purchase?
the purchase price that was advertised to everybody was essentially 2.2 million. So, you know, they're saying that, you know, that between the 2.2 to 3 would be, or, you know, that $800,000 of renovation costs. Considering you need commercial kitchens, sprinklers, water upgrades, I don't see any way you could get that under $1 million.
I think realistically, you're looking at a minimum of 3, and I think Steve pointed out potentially as high as 5 to 8 by the time you're all said and done.
I did a little bit of research, and Mansfield and Norton are putting in senior center / community center, they're calling it. And one of them is a renovation of, they looked at renovating their old police building to the tune of 11 million. Yeah, so then they scrapped that and said they just build one instead because it's the same price. You know. But so I was kind of surprised by the 3 million number.
And
I haven't been in there though, so without seeing it and understanding like.
It's a furniture store. It's not a 7-year senior center. So it's gonna be a complete rebuild.
Is it already ADA compliant?
It is on one level, so, you know, you don't have any grade changes that you have to deal with. So essentially, you're talking about upfitting it to meet the capacity requirements for assembly use versus what is right now a retail use. And then, so that's where you trigger the sprinkler need, the need for the septic system for the amount of people that will be using the bathrooms, the commercial kitchen requirements with the hood. So I think all that really has a higher price tag, you know, especially when you factor in prevailing wage, public bidding requirements.
And if this passed at this meeting, the purchase would be sometime before the end of this fiscal year, or probably following the next fiscal year.
It would fall into next fiscal year because you would still need to go through a formal RFP process for them to bid on the town taking it, because this isn't it's not a unique enough situation that we can say that it's the only building that could be used as a senior center. So essentially, you have to open it up that anybody could bid to say that they could provide a more advantageous proposal, assuming it's the most advantageous proposal. Then you negotiate the price. But you know that has a time frame on it. So essentially, you probably wouldn't be closed. And then you also have to do your 21E assessment on it as well. So by the time you went closing, you're probably not.
And that's why I think when the council came in front of us the first time, they were pretty excited. It's the once in a lifetime opportunity. It's going to sell. We have to jump on it now. I don't agree.
So we did have some discussion about this back when we first got this. I don't believe back then we were in favor. And I'm sorry.
No, I won't.
Better than us.
You know.
Don't get it wrong.
You remember.
We were not in favor of this back when it was first proposed. Any discussions we had, I've heard nobody on this committee say, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And so what's incumbent on us tonight is to either support or not support. Is that what you're saying?
Simple as that.
Or potentially not take a position at all.
It's just too much money not to take a position. If anybody has anything, Jay, want to add to this, I will entertain a motion that we back support this article. Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion?
Give
In terms of
Jonathan.
the video, did you roll call?
Really?
Yeah.
John, I'm sorry, I should have asked. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, I think No, I don't have anything of value to add. I agree. So what, I didn't hear the motion though. It broke up.
The motion is for the finance committee not to support this warrant article.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion's on the floor, it's been made, all discussion's been had. Is Jacqueline on there? I can't see it. Do we have, Ashley, do we have someone taking minutes?
It's being recorded.
Oh, it's being recorded. Okay. All right, so I will do a roll call vote. John? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
To support, yes. Christian?
Yes.
Yes. And I vote yes, so it is unanimous. We will not, the finance committee will not support this motion.
Thank
This
you.
is just,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have anything else? All right, so Board of Selectmen, we obviously spoke in great depth about this at the time. I thought we reached a fair compromise with the Council on Aging and, or at least a portion of the Council on Aging who supported this to allow them the opportunity to get this on the warrant. So now the question is for our board is, do we want to take a position? And if so, what position would that be?
Chair, I move that we do not support.
Exactly.
Any discussion on our side? Again, I said everything at the meeting, so. All right, hearing none, we actually don't need a roll call, but actually, Andrew, do we? Because it's somewhat virtual, no, but we're all set.
No, you're full.
All right, thank you. So all those in favor of not supporting the motion? Aye. Obviously, that is unanimous, so that is 4-0. So that being said, both the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee do not support the passage of this article at the May town meeting. Instead, I don't think we have any other business.
no.
So for at least our side, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Board of Selectmen is adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. So motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Oh,
Say no.
hey, sorry, you have to do roll call again.
Oh.
John's fault.
Sorry.
John, sorry about that, John. All right, so the motion is to adjourn, John.
Yes.
or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I vote yes.
We're good.
It's unanimous.
All right. Thanks, everybody.